Meanwhile, Ding Dong, 2 of your fucking employees was on that event I did last month, and
I
both
know.
one Beats by Dre headphones.
I know. I heard.
Oh God! Clearly got a smart team.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and even smarter because I saw absolutely no indication of like a kickback or anything like that. So, yeah. How are you keeping?
I am doing good. The weather is getting hot now. Notably sunburnt the last couple of weeks. It's back up to like, I think it dropped down to like the mid-teens, which when you go from like 26 down to 15, you really feel it. And the last couple of weeks now, it's been like mid-20s, like 25, 26. I think it was close to 30 at the weekend, so it was hot. Very Irish. I'm still getting over my sunburn. It's like 4 days later.
Yeah, you got the kind of a variation on the builder's tan.
Yeah, the builder's tan. Well, I do have proper builder's tan. Look at that. I'm like milk bottle white there. So very Irish. I might look a bit Spanish, but I'm actually very Irish.
I love skim milk.
You like skimmed milk?
Yeah, the skim milk look.
Okay, well, I definitely have that going on. Just to let you know, I feel like a call center work. I'm going to record these calls so I can put them up on YouTube now because I'm a hashtag influencer. No, not really. Because people always message me, like, I can't turn up for the call. And then I try to take notes for the call. And then I get so caught up in the conversation and I forget. So I'm just going to record them and put them up on a private playlist. Okay. So how is everyone?
All good.
Excellent.
Blue skies here today.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Not that we can get out and enjoy it, but anyway.
True.
I haven't.
What is the situation in Ireland about the quarantine and like, is it still shit or?
Yeah, pretty much. We're still in a fairly high level of lockdown. I think we're still at level 5, but we can now travel within our own county, which is good if you're from Cork and not so good if you're from like Cavan or something.
Yeah, who wants to travel around Cavan? I mean, let's be honest.
So that's about as far as we've gotten so far. Everybody's lost their mind over AstraZeneca and the blood clots. So we've had like, I think about 15,000 cancellations of, or the HSE has cancelled 15,000 vaccinations a day for the last 2 days. I don't know. Not worth talking about, really.
Yeah, it's weird. I had an agency I'm working with in Spain, and they're pretty much gone back to normal. We've been back to normal for a long time, still wearing masks, and like you have to wash your hands. How annoying. So there's all that like safety precautions, but apart from that, it's pretty much business as usual. I'm actually bringing a group of agencies over at the end of May, like last week of May, first week of June, getting a handful, 6 or 8 agencies over here for a big massive piss up, basically.
I don't think we'll have anything open by May, to be honest. Yeah, the quarantine thing is like, I don't know. It seems very very random. Like Austria got added to the list there last week.
Weird.
Yeah, and then Dubai is on the list, but like I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who lives there, and he and his partner, like both in their 30s, have both been vaccinated, you know, with no trouble whatsoever. The drive-through vaccination center had it done in 20 minutes. You know, it's a million miles away.
Vaccination is the worst. I almost died having my second dose. I was telling Rachel, it was
slightly dramatic, Carol, but I'll take your word for it.
I'm not kidding. It was like I got chills, fever. I basically experienced a little bit of COVID in like 48 hours.
That's what they say happens usually with the second one. I hear a lot.
Yeah.
I heard someone got it, same symptoms that you got on the first dose.
That sucked. So you got to do it twice. Yeah. The second one, my husband just looked at me and was like, should we go to the hospital at this point? I was like, no, I thought the whole point of this is not to go to the hospital. But anyway, I survived. I'm just wanting everyone to know it's so fun.
Just want everybody to know that I escaped death.
Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
death.
Not dramatic at all.
Which of the vaccines was that, Carol?
Pfizer.
Pfizer. Yeah.
You're all
Same with
taking notes.
AstraZeneca.
It
I
doesn't
ended
matter.
up
I've heard all
sleeping
of them.
for like
Oh, I don't know what happened there. I was like 6 personalities.
Wait, who said
Bro,
that?
where are you? Like,
It wasn't
are you-
me for a change.
Not
I was
me?
gonna say
Yeah.
I ended up sleeping for like 48 hours straight after my
Yep.
second shot.
Yeah, that's me too. I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. You guys are lucky in the US that we're pretty much at 50 plus in Ontario, if that. And then if you're
Are
in
we
a
lucky?
well, not lucky, but like you have the opportunity to get it if you want it.
Lucky, yeah, lucky to have the opportunity to experience near death. It's
Yeah.
First,
And come back.
we'll tell you. Don't do it.
I have my first business trip. I'm going to Texas in 2 months, so that should be interesting and weird being on a plane again for the first time in like
Yeah.
18 or 19 months.
I literally cannot wait. I feel like I might even go and lick the windows or the seats on the plane. That's how excited I
I
am.
hate you.
And this is a Ryanair flight, so you know you're definitely getting something on a Ryanair flight. For sure.
Yeah.
Like they pay you to get on the plane,
The air's cleaner, so why wouldn't the seats and the windows be cleaner? You know.
obviously.
Oh, gross.
Obviously, I'm going to make myself a
Still
view.
don't recline?
Sorry?
Well, here in the US, we have Spirit, and you can pay for the premium first class seats, but the seats still don't recline. Like it's still a like sit up vertically uncomfortable. You just have a like realistic width for a seat.
It's
And then
a
like
known
the
thing.
regular Spirit seats, because I'm like a typical fat American, like it looks like me squeezing into a clown car.
Yeah, but that's kind of fun, right? That's like a flight and entertainment. So I mean, that's extra.
For everyone else.
I took the
Everyone.
flight once. I was in the middle seat and I felt so bad for the people on either side of me. Like the person in the window, I'm just like pushing them into the bulkhead, and the person on the aisle, I'm pushing into the cart as the stewardess is rolling by for the $5 Coke can.
And they're like, please, can you get out of the aisle? I'm like, no, this gentleman over here, he's literally pushing me out.
Yes,
The same experience when you see, you know, which middle seat you're in. You come up to somebody and say, "I'm really sorry, that's my seat. I'm really sorry."
As you block out all the sun. Yeah, you block out all the light behind them as you like move over and say, "I'm sorry, I'm sitting next to you." You're like, for fuck's sake.
In the States, there's also the Allegiant Airlines, which is like cheap domestic stuff, like Spirit is kind of internationally. And we were flying back from spring break recently, and my wife and
What are you, 18?
Yeah, spring break. We were there for the Miller Lite spring break trip, sponsored by Natty Light. Anyway, Natty Light's like the worst American beer I think you could ever have. I thought I hated beer in college when I drank that, and then I just realized it was like piss water. So I don't think you're supposed to like it. But my mom had already gotten vaccinated. She sits down on the plane, takes her mask off to eat something. The woman next to her is kind of like staring at her, and she's like, "It's okay, I've been vaccinated." And she was like, "So have I. Doesn't mean you can't carry it." And then she took her jacket and laid it over her entire left side, where next to my mom, and just the rest of the trip was like, put her head against the wall and just covered up by a jacket. And my mom looked over at me and was like, I don't think she took too kindly to me.
To be honest, it's the same here. So for here, it's mandatory to wear masks outdoors. And because everywhere me and my husband go, we always wear backpacks, so we look like tourists. And when you walk past locals, when you're exercising or walking, you don't need to wear your mask if you're going to like walk as an exercise. And when old people walk past us, they'll just get their mask, which is under their face, and they just like literally walk past us and just put it over their face. Some people just cover their mouth when they walk past us, and I'm just like, what a way to feel like a fucking leper. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not dirty, I swear. It's so odd. We're living in a weird time. Anyway, I would love to talk about weird vaccination stories for the whole time, but we're here to talk about fucking agencies. some new, I would say faces, but there's a lot of people that are feeling shy. I can't believe, I think it's Ben from Cyber Workshop. I feel like it's about 3 o'clock in the morning in New Zealand right now. Is that right, Ben? We can't hear you. I know you're talking, but we can't hear you. But anyway, he's joining us from New Zealand, which is mental. One thing I wanted to talk about, I'm happy to throw it out to the group if anybody is having particular challenges. For the people that are new here, generally speaking, we meet up once a month. Somebody comes with a particular challenge, thing that they're struggling with. I have a private group of 30 agencies that I work with, and generally speaking, by the time it comes to the roundtable, I already have an idea of what a lot of agencies are struggling with. And for the last month, I'd say the topic of hiring, employee retention, employee engagement seems to be a massive challenge right now. I think because we're like 1 year into this working from home and hybrid kind of remote working, and seeing a lot of that disconnect. We're seeing a lot of performance issues with employees, really good employees that are having performance issues. So that was roughly the topic that I wanted to cover, unless anybody had something very specific that they wanted to discuss. Not lead generation, not retainers, because we did those the last 2 times.
I like how you're in my head, Rachel.
About lead generation and retainers or employees?
No, more employees and motivation and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
And burnout as well. I will hold my hand up and say last week was not a good week for me. I didn't even I try and go for a run 2 or 3 times a week. Couldn't fucking stomach it. I was absolutely exhausted. I don't think I've ever been that exhausted ever in my business. I couldn't even get my fucking head on straight. I don't know how I made it through the week. And I know that employees are going through it, agency owners, we're all feeling it right now. I just feel like everybody needs to come to Gran Canaria and get fucked up one good time, and then we'll be back on track. I feel like that is a medical, like a prescribed solution.
Do you have any like plans for explaining that to the leaders of various countries? Because I'm all on board with that, but
We're coming.
Martin isn't agreeing with me.
Coming to Gran Canaria and getting fucked up?
Yeah,
Explain what that means.
Explain that to me, Hall Martin. That's what that's what I'm asking you to do.
Okay. Everybody can come to Gran Canaria where I live, and we'll have a massive party and all get absolutely hammered one time, and then it will reset what's happened in this last year, and we can go back to life as we knew it. Does that work? Is that clear?
Yes, I'm in. How much are tickets?
I'm not an airline. Ask Ryanair. I wouldn't know.
Okay. I'm just going to send them, I'm going to Venmo them $100 and maybe that will get me over there.
Probably at this stage. So yes, let's talk about employees then, some of the challenges. I mean, Alex, if that's something you're going with, then why don't you lead it and share some of the stuff that you're dealing with, and maybe we'll just go around the group.
Yeah. I think the strain of having a distributed workforce is finally like weighing super heavy. Like it consistent over communication to have any semblance of normal communication is becoming more and more difficult. I've noticed that like Slack has just become less effective because like it doesn't like going to a burnout thing. It's like, hey, if you're in 5 hours of Zoom meetings in a day, because that's how you have to communicate, you then open up Slack and see that you have like 60 notifications and it doesn't tell you which ones are pertinent and not pertinent. And that becomes a huge like resource suck. I think that's been that has been a struggle. That's led to having conversations about PIPs and trying to do remote coaching. That has proved to be, I think, a whole lot of fun. And just from a sales perspective, having a distributed sales team just hasn't worked at all. So sales has pretty much at this point all come back on me. And that's been incredibly exhausting because I just don't know how to like actually coach and deal with more of a distributed sales team. Internally on how we're fixing it, with us being a NetSuite partner, we actually purchased OpenAir. So we're actually implementing OpenAir for ourselves. For those that don't know, it's a resource management tool, project management tool, and invoicing tool. So we're internally now running several weekly work sessions just to stand that up and try to improve communication. But it's, again, just the struggle of, you don't realize how much inner office banter you miss by being remote.
For sure. For sure. I think, yeah, that disconnect, and a lot of agencies, the ones that I'm working with anyway, they've grown so much over the last year. They've hired so many people that they've never even met. It's crazy. So how do you, like, I had an agency today with a guy I've been working with for a year now. We just had our 1 year anniversary. And he has hired like his lead project manager, and they're having a massive disconnect. They're just very different personalities, but it's causing a lot of fracture between the two of them and getting stuff done. He's a great guy and she's a great girl, but there's just a misalignment, and it comes into not being together in them.
Oh yeah, definition of terms as well. Getting definition of terms right, like it's usually an easy, like 2-second conversation, but then if you're trying to fit that, email isn't the best way to do it, and I'm already in like 7 hours of Zoom meetings in a day, so it's me just finding from a bandwidth standpoint, like it means that I have 7 hours of Zoom meetings in a day. I use my morning to catch up on and prepare for my meetings, and then the evening is spent doing the housekeeping and whatnot like that. And it's just leading to what you've kind of said from a burnout perspective. And then, you know, with us pivoting so hard last year, I'm in my business too much, to where like I'm way more important from a billable hour standpoint than I should be. And I'm required for a good chunk of conversations, and it's just, we're yeah.
It's as we would say in Ireland, it's a bit of a head fuck. All right, Jared?
Yeah. I was going to say, you know, the Army's term for it is clusterfuck, but yes, I agree.
Works perfectly fine. Jared, what about you? You haven't been with your team for a long while now.
Yeah, 13 months. Sat in this chair. The most magnificent thing I've managed to do, if you could even call it that, is for any of the more recent new employees, I have at least met them one time to have a sandwich.
Sandwich code for something?
Well, yeah, it's not, no, sorry, it's not a code for anything. It is, no, sandwich is all you can have in Ireland. You can't go
like an actual sandwich, like bread and whatever.
Yeah. Careful now. So, yeah, so like I actually hired somebody about 4 or 5 months ago who came on and left the next day. As in, like, they arrived and then they left, literally. And so we kind of had an exit interview, even though it was like, you know.
You had an exit interview before you gave him the sandwich.
Yeah, but the exit interview, he specifically mentioned that like, you know, because he couldn't meet anybody, or he thought maybe at least we could have gone for lunch or something. So I've made an effort to have lunch with anybody where possible. But like there's been people that we've taken on that I've never met at all in face to face. So it's been that part of it is very challenging. What we do is like we still have a morning stand up every single morning for 15 minutes with the whole company on it. And the point of that is not to actually get through anything that is, you know, that you would normally call a stand-up. It's more to have a bit of a banter, to talk about the weather, and a few bits and pieces like that. I mean, ostensibly it's there for doing business, but nobody does any business. It's all about hot water bottles and painting houses. So you know, and that kind of helps. It keeps people connected a bit. We've been doing more lunch and learns and stuff like that. Yeah, and like yeah, but I definitely hear what Alex is saying. Certainly, like what I find very challenging is as you're changing things, you kind of have to write out and actually not even triple explain it. I think you need to explain everything like 7 times. I think that's actually, I'm sure there must be a psychological backup somewhere, but everybody has to be told multiple times. And there's a lot of, and that's challenging because you want to tell people once, and ideally they would get it, or maybe twice. But like for the sales, for example, we've had that issue as well, and trying to you know, like it's not good enough anymore to give the spirit of what you're trying to do. You now need to define exactly everything that you're trying to do. So that's been a real challenge actually. But aside from that, yeah, haven't seen the team in a while. We've put a lot more structure in the company this year. So in the last, I don't know whether that's just part of growing up or is it part of this, you know, because we don't meet people anymore. What we've done is we've put a bit more structure. So we've got team leads, and the team leads have regular check-ins with the people that they're the team lead of. And then the leadership team has regular check-ins with the team leads and so on and so forth. And the leadership team has regular check-ins. So there is a lot more check-ins, but surprisingly also it doesn't feel as meetings for meetings' sake as you might think. They're often very, very fast check-ins, and so on. And it's actually incredibly difficult when you're, let's say, I suppose in my position where I have back-to-back Zoom meetings all day long. It's hard to remember that not everybody is like that, and some people are just sitting in a room for like 8 hours, with maybe talking twice to somebody, you know. So keeping that in mind is challenging.
I can hop off that because I feel like Rachel knows how I feel, and being on the opposite end of you, I'm sometimes sitting here wondering what the hell I'm going to do, try to be as proactive as possible. But because I was hired remotely, everyone's remote, haven't met anyone yet. And my role is defined, but there's a hard attachment of giving some responsibilities to me. And then I'm just like busting balls. I don't mean to be vulgar, but it's Rachel, so it's fine. I'm busting balls to just like shadow, do stuff, try and be as proactive as possible. Because I'll be honest, like the other day I was so tired because I was so bored just sitting down. I closed my eyes. I'm like, I'll just take a little nap because I'm bored and I hate being bored. I like to have my mind stimulated. I like to do different things. So I can understand your end because my manager is the same way. Like he's pulled into 5,000 different directions and he's very apologetic. He understands, but also I'm just like, call me, let me be on the phone. Let me do this, let me do that. So then I can at least see what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's true. I think that's because, like I said, I have a group of agencies that I work with, but underneath those group of agencies, I also work with their project managers and their sales team and their senior leaders. And that's also what I'm hearing. It's very similar. Not that people are taking naps because they're bored necessarily. Naps are life. A 15-minute power nap will that will get me behind me, Satan. That's what happens when you take a little 15-minute power nap. That is some good shit. But I'm hearing the same thing from the teams, the various groups that I have underneath the mastermind, that they're in the same situation. It's like, you know, I'll have a call with them every couple of weeks, and like let's say project manager, and we're working on the onboarding process, the delivery process. And I'm like, okay, so if you move forward, my boss hasn't had time to sit down with me because he's been so busy. So it's like a massive cock block. You're welcome, Felicia. I did that one for you because I know you'd appreciate that as well. But it's a massive blocker to progress, right? So it's like trying to move forward, and the business owners are not doing it. It's happening through defaults, and they're not doing it for any bad reason. But, you know, like Alex said, 7 hours back-to-back calls, and then all of a sudden then you spend your evenings, which I do. I have like 40 hours of calls on an average week. And then the only time I get my admin is the evening, and you find yourself just working into the evening, and it's rinse, repeat. And then you get decision fatigue, and then you're having to like make decisions and get back to people. And you're like, my fucking head is melted. I just have to make another decision now. I just can't. I just need to go to bed, or need to just switch off. But that comes down to bringing on employees, which is where I see a massive weakness with a lot of agencies. Your onboarding process for employees is shite. Like in most cases, it is non-existent. You bring on new employees that are maybe qualified, maybe not so qualified. And then you say, there you go, there's a big steaming bag of turds. You crack on there and turn that into something that resembles a diamond, please. So not having that onboarding for new employees, I mean, you're kind of setting them up for failure, and it's a huge problem. I had an agency today, a big agency, a big plus agency, and they have one of their project managers who's been there for like 6 months and is repeatedly making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And when we drilled into the issue, it's because this was never impressed on him on the onboarding, how important that detail was. So we've had to go back now 6 months later, correct all of the mistakes he's made, and then try and reprogram him and retrain him to do things a certain way, which is difficult. You don't want him to feel like an asshole, but at the same time, like he's fucking up in projects, and it's causing them to be unprofitable because they're running over. What about for you, Michael? What's your process like there? I know that you're pretty hot on employee onboarding.
Yeah, I was going to say that we started with basically handing them the bag of steaming turds, probably lukewarm. It probably wasn't even hot.
My favorites. Yum, yum, yum.
And then asking them to turn it into diamonds. And I can say, definitely as a leader, one of the things that I've really had to start taking ownership of is, how am I setting people up, and am I giving them the resources they need? There are many times when somebody fails my expectations, and I go back and say, first, did I give them the right expectations? Did I give them the resources to hit those expectations? And I can honestly say probably 40 to 50% of the time, I'm like, no, I didn't impress that specific thing that I wanted upon them. We didn't talk to them about that thing. And so I have to go back and say, look, you did not meet expectations on this, and I did not give you either my expectations or the resources to do this. So I wouldn't have expected you to do that. Here's how we need to go about doing it. So we started with nothing and slowly evolved over time. And one of the things that we really needed was, we introduced people to a group of tools like Slack, Asana, whatever, and they might know about those tools, but do they really know and understand how those tools work? Something I found out was we'll use for Amazon accounts, we have to log into the main account sometimes, but Amazon tracks IP addresses, and they know that agencies are working with clients. So, seeing an IP address that might align with, wherever I'm logging into, they're probably not going to think too much of it, but for safety purposes, we'll use a software that basically stores IP addresses in the cloud. And people were using that incorrectly. People weren't, were using and logging into the main account, and they should be using their own accounts. And it just turned out that no one had really trained them on this stuff. And I was like, yeah, why doesn't everyone get it? It's just IP addresses in the cloud. And people are like, what is an IP address? I don't even know what the hell that is. And so I just stepped back and say, okay, I made a lot of assumptions about what I thought you knew, and had to redo that. But one of the things we've refined the process. And one of the things that we've done is people get their engagement letter, which is essentially their contract as well. They'll sign that, and then we will, give them a welcome letter. We'll give them some information on the company. I've started having people just take a quiz on some of the stuff that they've read. I mean, it's essentially an open, PDF test, open book test, but it allows us to say, okay, were they really paying attention to what we gave them? And it's small stuff like, what are our 4 founding principles? And it's, something like professionalism and honesty, communication, blah, blah, blah. but it's just something to even know that they're paying attention, and then having a welcome call with them and saying, here's what you're going to do over the next 4 weeks, instead of just throwing a bunch at them. So even if it's a rough plan, like week 1, you're going to learn about all these softwares. Week 2, you're going to shadow someone. Week 3, you're going to shadow, but also lead. And then week 4, we'll turn something over to you. So even just starting with some of those small plans, and, you know, ideally we're going to continue to make that more robust and embellish it, but we just had to start somewhere. So like starting with some bare bones and then building on top of that. Now we have someone walk through new onboarders, new team members with, just to go through technology, just to say, hey, here's how we use Asana, here's how we use Slack, all these different things. And then start to have them shadow and move on. So we're able to transition people, especially if it's like an account manager or, you know, your customer success manager, whatever you call them. We want to make sure that transition is really, really easy. And it's much, much easier once they feel like they have the resources put in place. So, I mean, I can just say I definitely failed a lot when it comes to that. And the more time we've invested, and honestly, one of the things is my assistant, who's also the, you know, our head of admin, I've given her a lot of the responsibility and said, I need you to refine this process. I need you to do this. I'm not the one that's going out and doing it, because it takes a lot of time to do that. And I'm handing it to her and saying, I need you to work on this. So I don't know if I said anything that was useful. I felt like I kind of just went like, but hopefully that was.
I'm just going to do a quick screen share. I have been very mindful of the fact I didn't do it on my usual tab, which is at about 67, and did it on another tab, which makes me look semi-professional, but the other tab is fucking mental. So I have 2 resources that I use for a lot of agencies. If anybody in the group wants access to these, I'll totally share it over. The first thing is kind of what Michael said, that kind of schedule. And then the other thing is like an onboarding welcome thing. I explained that almost as poorly as Michael's previous conversation. All right, let's see, get it on the right screen. Are we looking at this screen with welcome to agency? Someone say yes, because I can't see anyone.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know who said that, but what a deep voice.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, Michael. Okay. All right, so here is a template. I built this out with an agency a long time ago, repurposed this. This was their branding, bit of fisting there, lovely. And what they've done here is basically go through high level information. Welcome to the team, we're delighted to have you. Bit of key information, this is your role, this is your line manager, these are your hours, this is your lunch, if you're sick, but all this stuff that we forget to do when we bring in new employees, what their key objectives are. I would definitely recommend here, like this is the key objectives for their onboarding, and then maybe high level objectives in their role, their salary, their induction, and a brief overview of what that looks like. And then an introduction to the key systems and tools that they're going to be using, how they communicate, and then something super cute at the bottom about the people in the team, like who the team members are and what roles they have. So this is something that you would have templated and flesh it out. I mean, this is like a what, 6-page, 7-page document, I have no idea, but you'd probably flesh it out and be over 10 pages. And then something like this, that you could plan, again, depending on the role. So if you're bringing on a new developer versus bringing on a project manager, they're 2 very different things. If you're in the Shopify space, of course, part of here would be some of the Shopify training tools, videos that they have in the training portal. And then going through, this is super detailed. I don't think it needs to be necessarily this detailed, but having something here where week 1, this is what you're focused on. You're going to be buddying up with this person. You're going to be doing this training. You're going to be doing this task, and map it out. I would say for the first 4 weeks. If you are in a situation where you've got a slightly bigger agency and there's people, so say, for example, you've got like a director of ops and this is a project manager, if you have a head of delivery and it's a new project manager, then this is something that I would delegate to them to map out. And it's just like a normal, again, anybody who wants this, just shoot me a message, drop me an email or whatever, and I will email them over to you. But this is a great way to make sure that your new employee is set up for success. And it means that like there's loads of stuff that we forget about, but having something like this that you just on a quarterly basis probably give it a bit of a refresh. it means that you're not going to drop the ball there.
That's
I
so
want to bring-
detailed. I love what you showed, how it walks through like time management as well. And I think when we bring someone on, a lot of times we're making the assumption they're going to look at this thing this way. And I would say more structure, better structure up front will then hopefully allow them to be more free with their time and better planned and organized, after the first 30 days. So just like over communication in the beginning, to me, my whole agency is remote. So over communication, especially in the beginning, is important because I want to make sure I know what you're doing, you're getting the help that you need. And if you're not doing that, then I have no clue how to help you. And you could just be, doing whatever you want. So yeah, I think that the more structure up front, the better. And then at least gives people a place to jump from. Like in any art or sport, I would say, you learn the rules and then you kind of figure out how to work around them or break them or bend them or, as you go along to your advantage, but you got to give someone at least something to start with.
And
I do have a question. Sorry. Does everyone have a week, like a daily stand-up or like a weekly touch base?
With new people?
Just with everybody, and depending on how big your team is, do you have like a core team, nucleus team that you talk to on a regular basis?
Our account
we do it for
manager.
the entire team.
I'm sorry, what?
We do it for the entire team, and it's it's about 20 something people every morning at 9 o'clock.
Same. We do a 10 a.m. stand up.
And what do you guys discuss on those calls?
Chocolate.
First answer, chocolate.
This morning we spent quite a bit of time on the dangers of hot water bottles, which if you don't put a furry cover on them, they'll burn your skin. So,
I swear to God, my husband, he had a hot water bottle and the cover kind of came, like the hot water bottle came out and it went on a shin. And the next morning we woke up and he had a massive blister on his shin. And when it popped, he's got like a scar by that day on. What the fuck?
yeah.
And
Important topic.
Are you responsible enough to own an electric blanket? Also a hot topic of hot conversation. So like the actual stand-ups, Michael or Carol, whichever was asking, like from us, we do 15 minutes. If there's something urgent, we talk about that. But otherwise, they're just during lockdown, they're literally for banter and trying to like do some water cooler type stuff.
How was big your team?
I think my morning stand-up is usually we talk about what you did yesterday and what you're going to be doing today and what help you need. And everybody's on this call and like, hey, I need a parking lot with this guy. And then we stay back and then go to our different groups. And that usually helps out.
That's a different purpose because that sort of stuff I would usually do digitally over Slack. And at the end of every day, I get people to give me an update of like what they did, what they got stuck with. And I know there's a usual like 3-step, like what you did, what you got stuck with, what you need help, what you're doing the next day. So I get people to do that at the end of the day. The reason I recommend that is because it means people switch off and you can see when people have finished their day so you can stay on top of burnout and overworking. So I tell them at the end of the day, they have to send me that report on Slack or to their line manager. And it means then before I have the morning stand up, which I think is great, you can address any of the challenges there, but you can use the morning stand up more for the purpose of building morale and rapport rather than like work, as Rihanna would say.
Yeah. I mean, my team is so small. That's usually when we talk about how shitty the vaccines are. So it does
and
work
your near-death experience.
Yes, at all times. And what we ate for lunch yesterday, random things like that. But I think it's really important. You have some kind of periodic touch base with your team. And it's much easier when your team is small. But I understand that if you have like a 20, 50 people team, you've got to have to start splitting up and make sure your culture is still intact. And you talk to your employees the same way, that's kind of, I was just telling Lewis on the side, I was like, on a monthly basis, we start our monthly meeting playing a game. I always feel like that was really fun. And a lot of them are interesting, like get to know each other a little bit more. We call icebreaker, but once there's only 7 of us, we have broken the ice enough. So we start playing random ass games like what is that called? We did a treasure hunt internal, like in our house. Our operations manager came up with like a treasure hunt on the board, and we just have 10 minutes, and you just see everybody running in their houses trying to get stuff. And if you win, I send them a gift card. Random stuff like that. I really feel like the team loves it, and I see them like being engaged and happy about it. And then also I send them random food. Food helps.
I love that.
I'm always amazed at how motivated people are by recognition, and that's something that I just as an agency owner, I'm like, I know I'm not expecting the recognition. I'm just like, I want to get stuff done, and I want to make stuff happen. So it's not as big of a deal. Although it is nice to be recognized, but people, when they at least get a little bit of time to talk about themselves, or I think like Gerard said, that water cooler talk. I set up bi-monthly meetings with each team member individually, just to spend 30 minutes talking about their life, what's going on with them, that kind of stuff. So I at least, because we're talking about that stuff, in Slack at times, and people know that that's a conversation that I would want to have with them, just by saying, hey, I noticed this. And so, or like, hey, oh, sorry, I was late because I was doing this thing with my daughter or something like that. So just starting to share my stuff, I think encourages other people to do that. But that, like Carol, you said, just having those small little talks gives people an opportunity to open up, to feel like they can be themselves and be who they are. And I just encourage people and say, like, look, we didn't just hire you to do a bunch of tasks. We want you to bring your individuality, we want to bring your experience to the table, although we want to make sure that you can perform. So I love the idea of like a quick touch base with everyone. And I would say, we have some of our departments do that, like account coordinators, or all of our basically we call them account coordinators, but account managers, like they'll have a weekly call. And so I would encourage people to have discussions on that, or our team that's handling a bunch of data, like they're having a weekly call that's work focused, but are they still having some of those individual conversations? So that's something that I'll encourage people to do, just so that we continue to keep the vibe of actually being humans alive.
I also celebrate birthdays in a really awkward way. I like to put people on the spot, Well, one, we send out the calendar invite. I make sure everyone's birthday is blasted on the calendar.
Okay, yeah.
And once that happens, we just slack the crap out of them and give them a bunch of GIFs. And when we do have stand up, well, I'll usually put them on the spot. That's usually what I do. I'm usually like, would you like us to sing happy birthday to you? What language do you want? Like things like that.
I thought you were going to get them like inappropriate cakes or something.
Yeah, boob cakes.
Inappropriate.
3 boob cakes for the people who've been here before.
I did that. I had my whole team sing happy birthday to one of like the younger team members, on Google Meet. I've also just gotten everyone together to play Jackbox games. We have a team of 8, so it's a good size for that. And bought them all like $50 DoorDash gift cards to get food or whatever you want, from there. And so that's kind of been some of the smaller things that I think are helping with like team morale and stuff.
We spent 2 hours at our Christmas party playing werewolves. Werewolf.
That's awesome.
And it was a free game. It took a little bit of time to set up, but we scheduled for an hour. And I said, hey, if everyone wants to keep going, we can go for another hour. And pretty much everybody stayed on and played. So I think it's just doing some of those things that you would normally do outside of the office, the quote unquote office that keep things real. I would also second, what Carol said about birthdays. Like we give people birthday gift cards, and we'll announce it in the channel, and everyone's pretty, excited about celebrating something for another person. And then, this is kind of funny. My business partner, she started this. Our agency's called Cartology, and she started the Cartologist of the Month, which just sounds like you're a cardiologist, but you're not really. You don't have a medical degree. And it's like an employee of the month. And I'm like, this seems like it would be so silly and so stupid. And people love getting recognized for it. And we give them like a $50 to go out to dinner or do something with their family, whatever they want to do to contribute to that. And people are really like, hey, I want to nominate this person. I want to encourage this person. And so now I'm looking for ways to looking for a point system where some kind of program or and if anyone has a recommendation, I'm totally open to it, but something that's like, okay, everybody gets 50 points a month or something like that. Or maybe it's 20, I don't know, but they get to give, people points and say, I want to give this person 20 points and recognize them for this thing. And then it would actually cash into like real dollars. So if someone, but give other people an opportunity to give as well, not just myself or my business partners, so that they feel like they're included and their voice is heard. And so I feel like that'd be something, I know it works for sales teams. Of course, I'm not, like a big corporation, so we're not giving someone like, $100 for making a good sales call. So I want it to be valuable, and I want people to appreciate it. And I don't want to do like 1,000 points equals $1, because then it's very, very defeating. It's like, well, why am I even trying? But just more ways to show recognition. And I've heard people on my team say, you do a good job of recognizing us, but just, positive encouragement is always helpful. And I think we oftentimes are good at giving criticism, but are we actually building people up too? And that's had a huge impact on the members on my team.
So I have a suggestion for you. If you guys use Slack, at my previous role at hired.com, they had karma. So for sales, for anyone in the company, you can send them karma. And that was if you booked a meeting, or if you killed a call, or if you did something good, or if you helped someone. And it was really good to get that karma from random people, or just because like someone heard you do a good call, or you did a good gesture for someone. You're recognized all over the Slack channel, whether it's like a team-wide, a sales only channel, and then you get karma points, and it accumulates year over year. So every year it resets. So it's pretty cool as a way to give.
What's an app or something? Some kind of an add-on for Slack?
I think it's an add-on. It's called Karma. I don't know how to do it. You just do ++, and then someone gets karma. So basically,
I have the link here, Karma bot. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah. So every time like we booked a meeting, for example, if I booked it with an account executive, we'd be like, booked a meeting with this person, and they'd be like, Felicia, karma ++. So I got karma. And then another thing with regards to games, I'm having fun with the team. When I worked at Planswell, they did game day, one game day for like a half an hour. Anyone in the company could come. If you can make it, great. It's 2:00 every Monday. And one person volunteered to choose the game that they wanted to play for that week, which was pretty cool, because then you could see what people are interested in and how others are interactive with it.
I think it's just like getting people involved in doing something and showing that you care, and you're not sitting on a perch on high. I one time saw as a joke that you could sometimes, people are like, man, you suck. Why don't you go eat a bag of dicks? I don't know. I've heard people say that before. I don't know if anyone else has heard that, but you can actually go and buy someone a bag of like gummy dicks and send it to them. So that could be funny if anyone's looking for something inappropriate to send people, that could be something that you like. Maybe I'll send them to the Canary Islands, and we'll see if they make it.
If they actually get here, but if they do, subscription, pop it on subscription.
But I think you're still right. It's just getting people involved, just getting people to connect, and like we're all working with humans, so it's getting those humans to interact on a human level, even if it is in a digital world. I mean, these are some of the most roundtable calls that Rachel does. These are some of the most engaging calls that I'm on, and we're all in different countries, different time zones. But I think there's just an atmosphere of wanting to contribute and be a part of it. So.
I think because I set the bar so low, straight off the bat, I think that probably helps.
I think I'm going to start a website called Crap Bag, and basically you can just crapbag.com, and you can send someone like a bag of crap, and someone will light it on fire on the doorstep and ring the doorbell, and then just go away for like $5.
So if I could just take a minute to say that I appreciate that we can have this style of conversation, because I was on an executive training with one of my very corporate partners, to where when they put it on record, he literally looked at my tile and said, "We're recording, Alex. You can't watch what you say." And I'm like, "I don't fucking know what you mean." And the room breaks up laughing, and then I'm like, I have to watch what I say.
it is exhausting to be mature and professional. I mean, mature is a stretch, but it is exhausting to have to like be mature and professional all the time. It really is.
I think that shows people when you're real, Alex, like that. That shows people probably trust you more, honestly.
There's
Because
actually a fact.
They do.
People who swear are more trusted than people who don't.
Speaking of the funny things, so like I was in the Army for 5 years. I take
I'm just kidding.
I take the intervention. Yeah. Hey, I'm an American that has socialized medicine, so I'm okay with that. But I don't have healthcare bills. The federal government pays for it.
That's good, man. I'm glad.
Same.
No, so one of the funny things, finding out somebody's Marine, the running joke is that Marines are so stupid they eat crayons. So there was actually a Marine that came up with chocolate crayons, so you can actually write with them and they're edible crayons. So every Marine I know, like I play the cliched crayon joke, but that's a lot of fun.
But I seriously think people probably trust you more because you're legit and you're real. And they're like, okay, I can be myself and I can be honest. I want someone to be able to come to me like, oh man, this client is really pissing me off. And I can say, look, like, here's how you're going to present stuff to them. I get, and I know that sometimes we get crazies. I've got a real crazy right now that I think we're going to have to fire, but fire the client. But yeah, I mean, like, they can be real with you and talk, and then you can also give them coaching and encouragement and send them on their way.
And then the typical Southern thing, as you can see me wearing a shooting shirt today, I take people clay shooting. So it's actually rather funny teaching somebody how to shoot with a shotgun while you're discussing business because, there's firearms involved. But what I've actually noticed is that like I had clients through lockdown that I was in their bubble and I would bring them clay shooting and that like made their whole month. And then last week I decided we're going to do a team meeting. So Virginia International Raceway just opened up. So we're actually going to have a team day. We're going to hire an F4 car and be able to like go around the track in an F4 car and do all
Or
that.
you could just come to Gran Canaria and come on one of my walking strategy sessions that I did with a few of my agencies December on a nudist beach.
I was just going to say, can we go to the nudist beach?
There's a lot of nudist beaches and I accidentally get a strategist walk too far. Then I was like, fucking hell, it's morning. Let's sit down here with our feet in the water and continue this brainstorming strategy session. And I saw a pair of balls go past and I thought, that's weird. Well, they were white, so that was a bit surprising for me. It's been a long time since I've seen white balls. And then I saw dudes. Yeah, and I was just like, this. And then I turned around, literally just turned around. And there was a massive sign saying nudist beach. And I was like, we're the only people clothed. There was a guy who had like a ring, like an actual like ring that you would have on your finger, which was all bedazzled on his member. And it like blinded me because the sun hit it. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I mean, the fact that we stayed there for a couple of hours is probably more on us. It was a great strategy session. It was highly effective. So you could also do that.
I'm down for that. I'm going to Texas to visit Ecommerce in June.
You don't have to be nude in this situation, Alex. This is an FYI. That's not mandatory.
Just other people have to be nude. That's the thing.
That would make it inappropriate.
You just have to watch Star Wars. I'm Chewbacca. Like
okay.
Oh, okay. So then it wouldn't even be a problem. Yeah, it's like being clothed, but not. Weren't you in that Star Wars?
I'm glad I can make it awkward for everybody. You're welcome.
Why don't you travel that way too? Because technically you'd be clothed, and the people that you're sitting next to might be a little bit softer to have the hair, just kind of brushing up. One of the things that I did is I instituted a channel on Slack where people can just share stuff about their families or whatever they want to do, and we just call it dope. Not like as in drugs, but as in like that is so dope.
Yeah.
That is so dope for sure.
You're so woke right now, Michael. So woke.
I was just talking to someone else about someone that I mentor about Dave Chappelle's sketch where he did what was it, the race draft, where they're all like, hey, we want to bid on this person, we want this person to be in our group, and like Tiger Woods was up, and of course he's like I think part white, Japanese, and Black. And so all the different communities like, we want him to be on our team. And then someone's like, well, you can have, I think it was like the Black versus white, and the Black was like, you can have him, but we want Eminem. And the white people were like, okay, yeah, that's fine. You can take him. It was super, super funny. But I think it's
That's
see you later,
freaking
Jerome.
awesome.
But I think people can talk about stuff and share stuff about their dogs or whatever it is that they want, and it just allows them to be humans more.
Yeah. I don't think people realize.
When Rachel posts the post for this on LinkedIn, I see the corresponding eggplant emojis.
I swear to God, I'm not even joking. There's an agency I work with, and whenever I was like renewing the plans for 2021 and sent over the agreement, there's like little check boxes to put the tick. He pulled it out of the software that I use, HelloSign, and pulled it into his own technology so he could tick it off with eggplants. The problem with that is I have to send it to my lawyer. So I'm like this really like official, this fucking super crazy Spanish bitch. And she's always telling me off all the time, and she doesn't speak any English and I don't speak Spanish. And then I had to then like send her over this contract with like all of these eggplant emojis all the way through it. Oh, for fuck's sake, Tom.
We get some gherkins just to make sure we're representing everyone. Not everyone's an eggplant, okay, Rachel?
I don't know how gherkins, is gherkins not somebody who's got chlamydia? I feel like that's worse. That's worse, no? They are not cute.
They're not cute, no.
No.
No
This conversation went now. But on that note, I will say, like putting these groups together and doing this every month, obviously it's really important to meet great people. There's only a certain amount of agencies that I can work with, but I think the most important thing is people together to talk strategy, talk business, build relationships. I know there's a lot of people in this group. Alex and Carol, you've built a great relationship. Alex, you've built relationships with a lot of people in this group and gone on to do business with some of them, but also having fun. You know, this last quarter, I think, was really hard for a lot of people in terms of mental health. Some of the challenges came up. I've got an agency I work with, and for the last 4 or 6 weeks, he's going through a severe mental breakdown because of medication issues, going through psychosis, and because this medication fuck up that his doctors had, and trying to run a business. And he's the same person who had a developer commit suicide while he was going through this. So it's like real shit is going on. People are dealing with real issues. So getting a format, of course, I want people to get value and learn stuff from this. But at the same time, sometimes you just want to shoot the shit and have a bit of fun and blow off a bit of steam. And that's real, right?
Yeah.
I would say I just want to be inappropriate as much as possible. So that's my number one goal in life.
I think like for me last year when like everything kind of imploded, I mean like I think I'm one of the OG people here. But you know, like my roller coaster last year wasn't fun. Like we were in hospitality and events and restaurants, and like it was not a fun thing. So I will say that I appreciate the laughs, and like this quarter has been stressful enough that like it's nice to laugh the way I did today. So the warm fuzzy of I thank you guys for being peers and being willing to like talk about real stuff. And I think like the hard thing from this last year is just like the isolation you feel, that like you can't necessarily talk to your team like we're able to chat. And you know, like one of the big things that I've been struggling with a lot is imposter syndrome. And I know like a good chunk of that, Michael, is like with what you tackled. Like I haven't been able to train my staff the way that I need to, and because I'm too billable, like what do? Do I stop billing hours and have a cash flow crisis because like I need to focus internally? And it's this interesting like teeter-totter of like how to strategically put out fires while moving forward.
I may have a someone that I think could be, there's we'll use agencies sometimes for different people that we need on our team. But I found this agency that's called iWorker, and they have a lot of people that are based out of Venezuela. Obviously, economy is not very good. Things are pretty terrible there. But there's a lot of intelligent people there that, you know, have college degrees. Sometimes some of them have MBAs. and there's no work there, but they're able to find work remotely. And I'm happy to connect you just directly to the CEO. But one of the women that we hired from there, I mean, it's like crazy affordable, but just is so on top of it, super, super helpful. She was maybe even a little too serious. She was someone on our team yesterday gave me like 3 hours notice that he was resigning. He was going to end up, getting let go anyway, which kind of speaks to his character, that he was like, hey, today's my last day. Like, okay, thanks for letting me know. But she was like, I said, hey, this guy's gone, so we're gonna need you to do stuff. And she said, let me know how I can help. And I said, can you find reliable people that won't just peace out? And she's like, well, we got some good candidates, I'll send them your way. And I was like, I was just joking, Maria. I don't expect you to to be responsible for people's behavior, but she's been so helpful to basically be able to say, for our vice president, because it's her assistant, she can just say, I need you to do this thing. And she is intelligent and accountable enough to do that thing and turn it back. So maybe just passing some stuff to someone that can help in those areas could help you to, get out of that imposter syndrome and feel like, your people are prepared and ready to go, so that you're not worrying about, giving up that revenue.
Mm-hmm. Or virtual assistant. Bring on a virtual assistant. I have, virtual assistant. I have a contact actually. There's a team in Colombia, and they have like a group of loads of virtual assistants. I think they're like $9 an hour. Like, it's super affordable. They actually work with a lot of e-commerce brands, doing e-com stuff. And I have a few agencies that work with their team. I'm actually going to be onboarding one of their virtual assistants for me, because I'm a.
Are they called Shark Helpers?
Yeah, Shark Helpers. Yeah.
We've interacted with them before, and they've got some really incredible people. Yeah.
Great candidates. If anybody is looking for a virtual assistant, I can introduce you to the girl Paula there. She's super on the ball. In actual fact, some of my agencies have brought on virtual assistants from there, and those virtual assistants do basic store setups. And I think one of the agencies is paying this virtual assistant, I don't know exactly, but let's say $1,200 a month. See you, Felicia. $1,200 a month, and he's making about 20 grand on basic store setups for this person just spinning up templated stores on Shopify. So you can repurpose them in lots of different ways. I think that's what COVID or the pandemic has given us, the ability to get people from different locations. I mean, people in Colombia, the average salary there is about $600-700. And if they're working with you full time, you could be paying them double the salary. Of course, the company's going to take a markup, but they're still much better off. There's people there that are software engineers and doctors and architects, and they make more money as a virtual assistant with, European or American companies than they could in their own country doing what they were trained to do. So you're giving those people an opportunity to earn more money, and it's taking the pressure off you. And at that stage, what is the opportunity cost of you breaking your balls all the time trying to figure all this shit out, when you could just bring somebody in for $1,000 a month and just take all that headache, and they actually become your right-hand man or woman? Does that not make way more sense, rather than second guessing yourself all the time and constantly questioning whether you're? I have the agent, obviously he's going through a mental breakdown, but he's messaging me every couple of days like, I don't know if I can do this. I honestly don't think I can do this. And it's just, you're just stuck in that funk, in that headspace. And the reality is you can do it because you've been through a lot worse, but sometimes you just can't see through the problem. So just removing some of that noise, that annoying fucking squeaky stuff that really you shouldn't be doing.
I would be very interested in both of those organizations, Rachel and Michael.
Okay.
I'll put my email in the chat, so you can reach out to me. And Alex,
this group is like Tinder for Mike, like business Tinder for Michael.
I've hooked up with so many of you. My daughter.
That's why you said joking.
My daughter's 8, and she was typing out something TI, like time, and it said one of the suggested words was Tinder, and I'm like, she knows that it's like a dating thing, but she doesn't even know what it is, and that was one of the suggested words. I'm like, that is ridiculous. She also got served a bunch of political ads too, and I'm like, are they not looking at? I think it's my wife's information, which is why she's getting served that stuff. And I'm just crazy
times. But yeah, Lisa, I can I can definitely introduce you, or anybody who is interested in looking at VAs. they've been a game changer for most of the agencies that I work with. I have an agency that has built his business. In 3 years, he's gone to, I think, 250, 300K a month. And half of his team are VAs, and it's amazing. He's automated most of his processes.
On the VA thing, like, yes, I definitely want intros, but like, I think one of the things that's held me back actually goes back to the onboarding thing of like the effective way of like actually bringing them into the organization, what they are able
But that's the difference between finding a VA yourself, like let's just say going through a platform like Upwork where you find a VA and then you have to onboard them, versus going through a team that do it properly, because they will onboard the employee for you when you give them your requirements.
Okay.
And they come prepared knowing, like, I think if you're bringing an assistant on, a virtual assistant, you can say, look, I need help with this. I can't do this. I need you to help me create this thing. And so at least you're starting off with them and saying, like, I know that this thing isn't perfect or working well, so I need your help to do it. And some of the people, like the woman that we hired with iWorker, she's like $7 an hour, and she has a degree, like an HR certificate. So like she knows what she's doing, but like, you know, Rachel said, she doesn't have access to work in her own country. Things aren't very good or promising there. Anyone has workers in the Philippines, the average salary per day for an 8-hour job is like $7 or $8. So some of them are making $7 or $8 an hour. They're making exponentially more. It's a great opportunity for them, but they come in with, you know, some of the women on our team in the Philippines are engineers, but you know, they can't find the work that they need to. So yeah, I mean, I think if you can say, I need someone that's good with this specific thing too, those agencies will know, okay, this person's good with the design stuff. This person's good with HR related stuff. So there you can ask for those specific people and bring them on to help you with stuff.
Ben, any words from wisdom from you? It's been a long time.
Can I unmute myself? No, I'm just listening in. It's too early to. But yeah, no.
It's after 5 in the morning now.
I'm going to head off soon. But yeah, no, there's some.
Are you off for a swim?
Stuff. Yeah, I'm going to head off in a minute. So, yeah.
Good words of wisdom.
I don't have any wisdom.
Clearly.
I'm just taking notes. I'm going to go and hire a bunch of VAs. I'm going to have a look at all those sites, and yeah, that looks interesting.
It's interesting because in the Philippines, what a lot of people don't know, because it's kind of kept under wraps, Shopify outsource most of their support to VAs, but they don't do it directly. They do it through a company. So there's a large amount of VAs that are trained by Shopify, which is super interesting. I know a firm based in Australia called Filta. A woman called Marissa, and she has a massive organization, a massive organization. And she's got like thousands of Filipino VAs. She's got a HR recruitment background, used to recruit C-suite people for like $1 million fee and up. That's the kind of work she used to do. And now has gone completely the other end. And she's built this absolute army of Filipino workers that she outsources to some of the biggest Overdose user, Mind2Arc user, like all of the big agencies across Australia use her for VA and admin work. One of my agencies, Filta. Yeah, Filta. I can forward you on her deck so you can have a look at it.
Yeah.
And one of my agencies, Brad, he's got his designer through there, and she's amazing. He was working with a designer in Canada that he was paying a small fortune, and he's using this girl Jen. It's costing like $2,000 a month, and she is incredible designer. Similar time zone. I mean, for you, you're in New Zealand, so similar time zone, but it doesn't matter because most of these VAs are more than happy to work in whatever time zone you're in. So I think it's just thinking outside the box. But to circle back to the topic, that thing of like coaching your team, nurturing your team, empowering your employees, super important. For anybody that wants that onboarding template and that kind of welcome example that I have, just shoot me an email or LinkedIn or whatever, and I will email it over to you, and you can repurpose it, because that will save you a lot of heavy lifting. I came, I saw, I conquered. I'd say this is another success.
Bravo.
Obviously, and I'll be patiently waiting by my door for Claude, who's my postman, for my bag of dicks, Michael.
Yep, it's on its way.
If he comes to the door and flashes, I know that there's been a Google Translate issue.
We ran out of dicks, so it's just bag of dick. That was all we could afford.
Yeah, we just paid Claude an extra €5 just to flash, just knock on the door.
It's totally worth it. But I'm gonna need someone to
Are we now going to get the bear costume from Super Troopers?
Why not?
Do you get the scene reference?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those same people have put out like Tacoma Fire Department now too, I think, which is like same people that did Reno 911. It seems pretty funny.
There's a Super Troopers 2 now, and it's pretty funny. It has Rob Lowe in it.
Oh wow, okay.
On the edge. For Michael, I saw that there will be a Prince album getting released this summer.
Guess who already pre-ordered his special limited edition copy? This sucker right here. I have a friend who I've been introducing him to all Prince's catalog, and he's like, oh man, I checked this out and I love that. And he's like, I saw a new single pop up on the streaming service I use Tidal instead of Spotify. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. And he's like, yeah, there's a new album coming. So I went to the site. It was like, you can get 2 LPs, a CD, a DVD, and some other bullshit. And so I signed up for that. And I was like, okay, great. I'm looking forward to it. I actually almost saw him when he recorded that album, it was 2010. And he went on a tour for that album, but never played any songs. I almost saw him on that tour. So it'll be interesting to hear what he puts out. But what's funny is anytime something happens with Prince, like my dad's like, hey, Prince is going to be on 60 Minutes tonight. Just want to let you know. And I'm like, thanks. Everyone comes out of the woodwork.
Yes, I already know.
Yeah, to tell me about stuff. So.
Yeah. Okay.
What I'm hearing out of this, Michael, is that we're going to have to take a trip to Minneapolis and get a first Ave together.
I'm heading to Minneapolis in like June or July. There's an agency there that I work with, Irish Titan, and I'm bringing loads of other agencies there to. Yeah.
So yes, you.
Rachel is helping me get back.
My office is in the middle of like in the Skyway system. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna let people know when I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna bring some of the agencies I work with in South America, people from Canada, and people from America. And then I'm gonna go there with Irish Titan because they have a big office there, and Darren loves the barbecue. So what more do you want?
I did get to go to Paisley Park as a surprise for my birthday one year. My wife got me that, and so we got to go and look at his house, and it was like 3 hours of voyeurism, and I'm like, oh, I still want more. I just want to, I want to look at his bed. I want to smell his sheets. I want to see what kind of guy.
We might become friends. I interned there as a second engineer.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Let me take you out to dinner to talk about it. That's incredible, man.
Wow. This got really...
You're welcome, Rachel.
Okay.
A 4'10" guy could get 2 straight guys to talk about him so much.
Spoon over dinner. Spoon over Zoom. Do a Zoom spoon.
Hey, I live in the South right now, so it's called cigar and shotgun.
Okay. Okay.
Whoa, I don't even. That's just. And now I'm gonna Google cigar and chocolate. You know that.
Yeah. That's my code name for my husband. I'm joking. Like, time out. It's after 6 o'clock.
Oh, that's good.
Peace out.